Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly and exhale gently. You felt like you're waking up from a dream? Like suddenly, you see through people's masks, you sense energy around you, and the world you once knew no longer feels the same? If you've been feeling distant from what used to comfort you, questioning everything you once believed, then this message is meant for you. You're not going crazy, you're awakening. What you're experiencing is the shift from illusion to truth. And once that process begins, there's no going back. Watch carefully, because what you'll hear next will help you understand what's really happening to your soul. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Feel the stillness within you grow with every breath. Feel your awareness settle into this very moment. Because this is where all truth begins, not in the noise of thought, but in the silence of being. Today, we speak about something sacred, what happens when you are spiritually awake. And before we dive deeper, remember this: awakening is not something you chase, it is something you allow. It is not a destination, it is a remembering of who you already are. When a person begins to awaken spiritually, they do not suddenly become someone new. They simply begin to see clearly what has always been there. It is like wiping the dust from a mirror. You realize the light was never gone. It was only hidden beneath the fog of illusion. The first signs of awakening often come quietly. You start to feel a subtle shift inside you. Things that used to excite you begin to lose their flavor. The noise of the world no longer satisfies your soul. You begin to question the things that everyone else accepts without thought. Why am I here? What is the purpose of my existence? Why do I feel empty even when I have everything? And that questioning is the doorway to awakening. You begin to notice how people live on autopilot, chasing, comparing, pretending, and something inside you whispers, there must be more to life than this. That whisper is the beginning of awareness. You start to feel energy. You start to sense emotions, not just hear words. You become aware of the constant chatter of your mind, and for the first time you see how restless it truly is. You realize that peace cannot be found in possessions, in validation, or in control. It can only be found in presence. The world that once felt comfortable now begins to feel unfamiliar. You start to see the patterns of behavior that keep people trapped: fear, greed, ego, competition. And you begin to detach from them, not because you think you are better, but because you finally understand they are illusions. You no longer wish to argue, convince, or prove. You begin to value silence over noise, peace over attention, truth over comfort. And yet this awakening is not always beautiful at first. It shakes your foundations. It makes you feel as if the world you once knew is dissolving. The relationships that once defined you start to change. Some people drift away. Some situations end unexpectedly. You may feel lost, confused, or even broken. But do not fear this phase, because breaking is part of becoming whole. The universe removes everything that no longer serves your growth, so you can see what truly matters. Awakening is not a comfortable process, it is a transformative one. It asks you to release who you think you are, so you can remember who you truly are. And in this remembrance, you begin to see life as it is, not through the lens of judgment, but through the eyes of awareness. You begin to notice beauty in simplicity, the way sunlight falls through a window, the sound of rain, the rhythm of your breath. You start to realize that peace was never lost. It was simply buried beneath the chaos of thought. This is the beginning of awakening, when you no longer live by reaction, but by awareness. When you no longer seek meaning outside yourself because you've found it within. You begin to understand that everything, the joy, the pain, the confusion, is guiding you back home to yourself. When you begin to awaken spiritually, the world around you doesn't change, but the way you see it does. You begin to look at people and realize that most of them are not truly living, they are merely existing. They are caught in loops of desire, fear, and distraction. They move fast, but go nowhere. They talk constantly, but say nothing real. They seek love, yet avoid truth. And you start to feel disconnected, not because you are superior, but because you now see through the illusions that once kept you blind. You start to notice how people are attached to their identities, their opinions, their possessions, their status. They build entire worlds around these things. And when you no longer participate in those illusions, you trigger discomfort in others. Your calm energy begins to disturb their chaos. Your peace challenges their insecurity. Your silence becomes louder than their noise. This is one of the first signs of spiritual awakening. You no longer fit in the spaces that once defined you. You may feel misunderstood, judged, or even rejected, because when your consciousness expands, it mirrors the parts of others that remain asleep. And not everyone is ready to wake up. When you begin to live with awareness, you become a mirror for others to see their own unconsciousness. Some will feel inspired by your presence, others will feel threatened by it. Some will sense peace in your silence, others will interpret it as distance. That is because awakening is not something you can explain to those who have not yet tasted it. It can only be felt. You will find that certain conversations drain you, certain environments feel heavy, and certain people who once felt close now feel distant. That's because your vibration is shifting. You are no longer in alignment with the energy of drama, gossip, or negativity. You crave stillness, depth, truth. You are no longer interested in being liked. You are interested in being real. And yet, this stage can feel lonely at first. You may wonder, why do I feel isolated when I'm finally becoming more alive? But solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. The universe separates you from noise so that you can learn to hear your own voice again. It takes you away from crowds so you can learn to walk your own path. Through stillness, you discover who you truly are, beyond your roles, beyond your name, beyond your story. During this phase, your senses sharpen. Your intuition becomes stronger. You begin to sense the energy behind words. You start to feel when someone's intentions are not pure. You can walk into a room and instantly feel whether the space is heavy or light. Your awareness begins to expand beyond logic. But with this clarity also comes a new challenge. You can no longer ignore what you know. You can no longer go back to the comfort of unawareness. You can no longer pretend that things that drain your spirit are normal. You begin to realize how much of society runs on fear, comparison, and illusion, and it becomes harder to participate in that. This is why the path of awakening often feels like walking alone. You are no longer asleep, but the world still dreams around you. And yet do not resist this solitude. Embrace it, for it is in the quiet moments when no one understands you that the deepest transformation occurs. Your awakening is not meant to isolate you forever. It is meant to prepare you to walk among the world with clarity, compassion, and strength. As your awakening deepens, you begin to realize that true growth is not about escaping the world, but about seeing it clearly while remaining untouched by it. You stop running from challenges because you understand that each one carries a lesson meant for your evolution. Spiritual awakening does not make life easier, it makes your perception deeper. You start to see meaning even in the pain and purpose even in the storms. You realize that nothing happens by accident. Every situation is a reflection of your inner state. When you awaken, the universe begins to communicate with you in subtle ways, not through loud signs, but through whispers. You notice synchronicities repeating around you, the same numbers, the same words, the same symbols appearing again and again. Your dreams become vivid, your intuition becomes louder, and your awareness becomes sharper. You begin to sense that life itself is conscious, that everything around you is alive and connected to your energy. And in this awareness, you start to live differently. You become more mindful of your thoughts because you realize they create your reality. You become more intentional with your words because you see how sound carries energy. You become more selective with your actions because you understand that what you give to the world always returns to you. But this clarity can also be painful. You begin to see how much suffering in the world comes from unconsciousness, from people acting out of fear, ego, and ignorance. You may feel sadness when you witness cruelty, confusion, or injustice. because you understand that it all comes from unawakened minds. You feel compassion for others because you remember when you too were asleep. However, you also learn that you cannot force others to wake up before they are ready. Awakening teaches you patience. It teaches you surrender. It teaches you that the best way to awaken others is not by preaching to them, but by embodying the peace you have found. Your calmness becomes your message. Your presence becomes your teaching. You become a living example of what awareness looks like. And yet, there will be times when your awareness feels like a burden. You may wish to unsee the things you now see. You may wish to return to the comfort of ignorance, but you cannot, because once you awaken, you cannot fall back asleep. You can only go deeper. And as you go deeper, you begin to understand the balance between the physical and the spiritual worlds. You no longer see life as good or bad, right or wrong. You begin to see it as energy, as vibration, as flow. You realize that darkness is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Darkness reveals where the light within you still needs to shine. You stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. You begin to trust the timing of your life, even the delays, the losses, and the uncertainties. Because now you understand that everything happens for your highest good, even when it doesn't feel that way. As you move through life with awareness, you begin to detach from outcomes. You no longer chase what is not yours. You no longer beg for things that are not aligned. You start to live in harmony with the rhythm of the universe, patient, still, and trusting. You understand that awakening is not about becoming special, it is about becoming simple. It is about peeling away every false layer until only truth remains. And in that simplicity, you find peace. A peace that cannot be shaken by success or failure, by praise or blame, because it comes from within. When you reach the later stages of awakening, you begin to see that enlightenment is not about escaping the human experience. It's about embracing it fully with awareness. You stop seeking perfection, and instead, you begin to live in harmony with imperfection. You realize that awakening is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of conscious living. It is where you finally start to walk through life as an observer, not reacting blindly, but responding with understanding. You begin to see that everything around you, the people, the challenges, the emotions, is a reflection of your inner state. When someone triggers you, you no longer blame them. You look inward and ask, what part of me still needs healing? When life tests your patience, you no longer resist. You breathe and remind yourself that the test is not here to break you, but to strengthen your spirit. This awareness changes everything. You no longer chase after happiness, because you realize happiness is not something you find outside. It blooms naturally when the mind is still. You no longer seek validation, because you now understand that your worth does not depend on approval. It exists because you exist. In this space of awareness, you begin to move differently. You speak less, but with greater meaning. You desire less, but with deeper gratitude. You act less from impulse and more from presence. Your life begins to flow with grace, because you are no longer fighting against the current of existence. You have learned to move with it. This does not mean you no longer feel pain or sadness. You do, but now you experience them differently. You no longer drown in your emotions. You observe them like waves passing through your consciousness. You no longer resist discomfort. You allow it to teach you presence. You understand that even pain has intelligence. It is the body and soul communicating that something needs your attention. With awakening comes compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. You stop judging your past. You stop blaming yourself for what you didn't know back then. And you begin to forgive. You realize that every mistake was a step on the path toward awareness. Every heartbreak, every loss, every failure, it all served your evolution. You begin to see life as a teacher. Every person who enters your world brings a lesson. Every challenge you face carries wisdom. And the more awake you become, the more you recognize that nothing in your life has been wasted. Even the moments of darkness were sacred, because they led you to light. Eventually, you reach a state of inner balance, a peace that no external event can disturb. You begin to radiate calmness, and people around you feel it without understanding why. Your presence itself becomes healing because you have become aligned with truth. And this is what true awakening means. It's not about becoming holy or untouchable. It's about becoming real, authentic, awake to the beauty and pain of existence simultaneously. You start to live with purpose but without attachment. You love deeply but without fear. You give freely but without expectation. Your heart becomes open yet grounded. And you finally understand that awakening was never about escaping the world. It was about returning to it with open eyes, with clarity, with compassion. Because once you awaken, you see the divine in everything, in every sound, in every face, in every breath. And you realize you were never separate from life. You were never searching for the truth. You were the truth all along.